Hi, it's Al Dayer from Mickey's Bait and Tackle in North Syracuse, New York. And tonight we're going to tie what is known locally as a Johnny Darter or sandpike. It's some darter minnow that exists in the sandy areas of Oneida Lake, which would be, I believe, in the eastern basin. And for some reason, well, obviously, there's no doubt about it, it's the walleye pike that target these for a good portion of their diet. And like the perch jig that we just tied in the previous lesson, the Johnny Darter, as we refer to them as, have the characteristic stripes, and we'll teach you how to do those stripes today. And I'm also going to show you the difference between when you tie a jig using a jig head that has a collar, okay, versus a jig head that has no collar. And the Johnny Darter will tie with the jig head that has no collar, and we're going to get a much slimmer profile, very natural looking lure or bait. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the jig head in the vise. Get that established. Okay. And we're using three basic colors. We're using a tan, we're using a dark brown, and we're using a white. Those are the three basic colors. And the order is going to be white for the belly, tan for the midsection, and a dark tan or dark brown for the top of this little creature. And we're using a black, no collar, walleye style head. And the first thing we'll do is we'll start our thread. And the only thing you're going to have, remember, is the bare shank of that hook to tie these materials on. These are a little more difficult to tie. It's kind of like tying flies. Speaking of which, the fly tiers out there will have a lot of success tying this pattern on traditional streamer hooks, as well as the jig fishermen. Now I'm going to create a nice thread base because it makes it that much more effective to add your materials to. A thread base as opposed to the bare shank of the hook. The materials will adhere that much more readily. You're still using a very thin profile base, however. And the first material that we'll add on, being that this is upside down in the vise, is we're going to add the white belly from a white bucktail. And I'll just kind of take that, measure it. Remember, these are thin profile jigs. Thin profile jigs have a lot of action in the water. When you're using a collared jig head, it flares the hair. It gives it a good effect. I mean, I have no complaints about that, and I think everybody should do both. As far as when you're tying your jigs, use both the collared ones to flare the hair, and use both the uncollared to give that slim minnow profile. All right, we're going to put that right about there. It seems a little on the long side, so I'm going to trim a little more. There, just like that. All right, we'll pinch that and wrap that white in place with my black thread. I'm using about a 3/0 flat nylon thread, very strong thread. This is about a 3/8 ounce jig. So it's going to get down and do business. You're talking 15 to 25 foot of water for something like this. And that's with a reasonable chop, you know. You're not drifting too fast or too slow. Get that established rather nicely. Now the next color is going to be the tan, and I'm going to use the natural bucktail, undyed, and the top part, which is a nice tan color. I try to get something long enough here. There we go. There we go, on the side. There's the long ones. Okay. There we go. I can just tie cut one clump of this and then split it in half. The worst thing you can do when you're tying jigs, and I always emphasize this, is trying to put too much material on the hook at once. It's not going to do you any favors in terms of the jig being any durable, you know, all that durable. Get rid of some of that fluff at the base. There. Okay. And this is going to be represent the center of that pattern. Okay. And I'm going to split that into two pieces, just like that, two sections, because I want to tie it in two separate components. We build our jigs as component parts of hair. Trim that again. And then I'll just add that to the side like this. I will do the same thing with this one. Okay. Trim that so they're nice and flush. And add that to the other side. You're going to get a much stronger tie when you do that, when you add little pieces of hair as opposed to big pieces of hair all at once. And the only thing that remains is the top section of this jig, or little Johnny Darter, and that would be a dark brown. We could use a black, but we'll use a nice dark brown here. Like that. Okay. Serrated scissors really help. Nice strong serrated scissors. Don't use the little ones you use for tying flies. Use a good pair of scissors that have strong blades. That's a little on the long side maybe, so I'm going to trim that a little more. Okay, and that's going to be right on the top of the jig, which is right about there. And when you're working your thread, always have just a short amount of thread protruding from the tip of your bobbin. It gives you the ultimate control for doing this little inside work especially. I mean, if you were way out here with the thread, you couldn't do a move like that. And then we'll get that established. Okay. Just build that section up with thread where everything is tied in. The collar, that's the word I'm looking for. Okay, by just wrapping multiple times. There we are. Okay, we could whip finish by hand, or we could use a whip finish tool. I like the tool. This is an extended reach whip finish tool. It's for larger flies, and we just wrap the thread over itself by doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times. Pull that out. Okay. Trim my thread. Boom, just like that. Now we're not done yet. Okay, that's the basic color scheme of the Johnny Darter. Sandpike, however you want to refer to it as. And now what I have to do is we have to paint those stripes. And here's what we're going to do. Bring my a little piece of cardboard here. And I have a straight edge. The first thing is we're going to add the stripes to this by taking a piece of cardboard and another straight edge. You could use a piece of wood or ruler, what have you, and use a good indelible marker, black. We'll place that there, and I'll start by just taking that marker and dabbing it right into the hair itself along the edge of that straight cardboard, and just go down in 1/4 inch increments in this case because of the size of the fly. Proportion is important. Just do again here, 1/4 inch increments. Okay, then I'll flip it around and then just do the other side. Again, 1/4 inch increments. And that gives us that variegated look that's so characteristic of the Sandpike or the Johnny Darter. And we did a perch pattern just like this previously, again using the same technique for creating the stripes. And it came out pretty nice. There it is right there. There's our Johnny Darter. Okay, and eyes would look really good on this. And if you're going to do eyes, as you can see on this one, there's a yellow and black. Okay, and the way to do that is to just take some good old lacquer or enamel and use the head of a nail, and you dip it first into the yellow, and then just like a rubber stamp that side, rubber stamp that side, let it dry, do a bunch of them all at once. And then come back when that's dry, and then take the black, use a smaller nail head or a toothpick or what have you, a wooden dowel, and do the same thing, just right into the center. Boom, boom, and you have your eye. Eyes are really great. They're trigger mechanisms. When fish see other lures or baits with eyes, I think they key in on that, and that can actually trigger a strike, in my opinion anyway. So that's the Johnny Darter. If you're going to do the head cement thing, wait till you get all your jigs all lined up in a row. Come do the head cement one at a time, and then get out of the area, especially if it's an alcohol bait. Flies here. We can do flies too on streamer hooks. Same thing. Perch patterns, little Johnny Darter, okay, with the stripes, streamer patterns. Well, thanks for being here. Again, it's Al Dare at Mickey's Bait and Tackle. Take care now.